Welcome to SG Wines. Today we're going to be looking at the fruit wine kit. This kit contains all of the winemaking agents that you need to turn any fruit into 4.5 litres or 6 bottles of delicious and unique wine made by fruit that you've bought or picked yourself. Today we're going to be going through how to make a strawberry wine, as it's the start of summer, which is strawberry season. But first, let's take a look at what you get inside the kit. First off is the instructions. So this is just a step-by-step guide on how to make your wine. It also includes some tips and tricks. And for those new to fruit winemaking, there are 6 recipes on the back. You can also scan the QR code at the bottom to take you to the fruit wine kit homepage. And on there you'll find more recipes which we'll continue to add to. For the ingredients inside the kit, you have pectolase. Now this is an enzyme and that helps with fruit extraction, and it also removes pectin, which can haze up your wine. Next we have Camden powder blend. Camden powder is added to the fruit at the start of the process to kill off any wild yeast that might be present. Next we have citric acid. This is used to boost the acidity in your wine if needed. Some fruits don't require it as they're already quite acidic. So your recipe will state if you need to use the whole sachet, half the sachet, or none at all. The same goes for the next sachet, which is wine tannin. So some fruits have tannin in them, so this isn't required, but your recipe will state it. And this is just added to increase the body and mouthfeel of your wine. Then to kick off fermentation, you have your yeast and nutrient. So this is blended together. The nutrient provides the ideal fermentation environment for your yeast to thrive, and obviously the yeast is what turns the sugars into alcohol. Lastly, we've got the stabiliser. So this is added at the end of the process to preserve the wine, and it also prevents any further fermentation from happening. And you've got the finings sachets, liquid finings, kieselsoll and fungal chitosan. So this is actually suitable for vegetarians, and these are added in order to clear the wine. Here are some equipment items you'll need. So I've got a 10 litre fermenter. You can go as small as a 5 litre fermenter as you're making 4.5 litres, but due to the volume of strawberries that I've got today, I've pumped for a bigger fermenter. You'll need an airlock. You also need this is a straining bag, and that's required because when you add the fruit at the start of fermentation, you need to be able to remove it during the process. A potato masher, so this is to mash up the fruit and extract more of those delicious juices. And then you get onto the extra ingredients which you'll need to provide when you're making your fruit wine. So you need 1 kilo of sugar. That can be granulated sugar or brewing sugar or dextrose. I've pumped for 1 kilo of brewing sugar. And lastly, the most important ingredient in your fruit wine is the fruit itself. So here we have 2 bags of strawberries. These were freshly picked and put into these bags and frozen. There's 2.5 kilos there. And these have been thawing out now for about 5 hours this morning in the fridge. The reason that you can freeze your fruit, it's an optional step. You can just go straight in with fresh fruit, but if you freeze it, it does help break down those cell walls, and you will extract more juice that way. First step, as always, is to clean and sanitize your equipment. Anything that comes into contact with your fruit needs to be sanitized, which I have done previously. So this is all ready to go. So the first step is to prepare your fruit, which we've done already. And you need to put that fruit inside a sanitized straining bag. So you put the straining bag inside your fermenter, and then you can add your fruits. Okay, so now all the fruit is in the sanitized bag. I'm gonna tie it loosely. Right. So I've tied a knot in the straining bag. I'm gonna take the potato masher and mash the fruit. Okay, now all those strawberries are nice and mushy. We'll move on to the next step, which is to dissolve all of your sugar in 1 litre of boiling water. So just boil this kettle. It's about 1 litre. Bring sugar or granulated sugar. Add that into the water. And we'll stir to dissolve that. Okay, now all of that is dissolved, you need to pour it over the fruit. Once that's all been poured over, we're going to add some cold water. In the instructions it does say to top up to 4 litres. Now this is going to vary depending on the amount of fruit that you've got. This is already just above 4 litres with the amount of fruit in there. But if we lift up the fruit slightly out of the bag, we've got 2 litres. So we're just going to add another 2 litres of cold water. For this you can use tap water. I'm going to use some store-bought natural mineral water just for a bit of extra quality. In goes the cold water. Next step, we're going to be adding some of these sachets. So that's the Camden powder, citric acid, wine tannin, and the pectolase. And then we'll just give that a big stir to make sure all the water, all those ingredients, and all the fruit is mixed in well. Okay, so that's the first stage of the process done. We need to leave this overnight to allow the Camden powder to do its job, and then we'll come back to it tomorrow and we'll add the wine yeast and nutrient and start fermentation. Okay, so we're back with our strawberry wine after leaving it overnight. So this has now had enough time for the Camden powder to do its job, which is to inhibit the growth of any wild yeast that was on the strawberries. Essentially, the Camden powder produces sulfur dioxide, and that inhibits the growth of the wild yeast. This will have since dissipated over time, so we're safe to add our sachet of wine yeast and nutrient to kickstart the fermentation. Keep the rest of the sachets that you'll need later, keep them in a safe place. So we're going to give that a nice mix with a sanitised mixing spoon. And once that's done, we can replace the lid and the airlock, and we're going to leave this to ferment for 7 days. The next step is to punch down the fruit bag each day, just to make sure the fruit doesn't dry out. If it floats above the surface, it's going to dry out and it will begin to go mouldy or rot. So what you need to do is take your sanitised mixing spoon every day, lift the lid, a quick stir, make sure the bag is punched down below the liquid level, and we need to do that every day for 7 days before removing the bag. So we're going to put our fermenter in a safe place now, out of direct sunlight, and ideally between 20 and 25 degrees, and we'll come back and we'll check on the progress. Right, we are back after 7 days of fermentation and punching the bag down each day. We are now ready to remove the strawberries from the fermenter. For this we're going to need a sanitised mixing spoon, and simply take the lid off, and you're going to need something to put the fruit bag in, so I've got a spare fermenter here. So literally just lift up the bag and we're going to squeeze gently against the wall of the fermenter. Just to show quickly, this is what's remaining of the strawberries. A nice pulp there. So we're going to get rid of that, wash the straining bag, and we can reuse that. Now, due to the size of this fermenter, there's quite a lot of headspace. So I'm actually going to rack it from this into a smaller vessel. So I've got here a 5 litre PET fermenter with a wide neck. And that just means there's going to be less headspace because we're going to be leaving the wine to ferment for another 2 to 3 weeks. So if you're using a smaller fermenter, you don't need to do that. Just make sure that if your volume is less than 4.5 litres, as per the instructions, just top it up with cold water up to the 4.5 litre mark. Get the flow going. So another advantage of this PET demijohn is you can see that amazing colour of the wine. So we've probably got just under 5 litres of strawberry wine there, and our secondary fermenter. We're going to leave this to ferment for 2 to 3 weeks, or until there's no activity in the airlock. It's going to be a really slow fermentation at this stage. Most of the work's been done, so there's not going to be much activity going on in the airlock. If you want to just be sure, leave it for the recommended 3 weeks, and also test with a hydrometer at the end of the fermentation period to make sure the gravity is stable for 2 days. We are back after just 1 week of fermentation. There has been no activity whatsoever in this airlock. Can't see any bubbles at the surface of the wine. So I basically just want to check what the gravity is to see where we're at, and if fermentation has finished, then we can move on to the next step. So for this, I've got a wine thief or a wine pipette. And this just draws up the wine, which you can add into your trial jar, and your hydrometer will give you the reading. So this is reading 0.920, which suggests it's really dry and fermentation is definitely complete. I'm going to have a little taste of it. So in we go. I mean, I can already smell those strawberry aromas. It's really potent. It smells really, really nice. Let's test how dry this is. Yeah, that's very dry. It's very tart, which should dissipate over time when the wine is aged, either in a bottle or in a demijohn like this one. But it's really full of flavour, and it's only going to get better. So I'm really satisfied with that. Also, the colour is immense. So yeah, cheers to a successful fermentation. We're going to move on to the next stage, which is to add our first fining sachet, finings A, which is the Kiesersol, and we're also going to add the stabiliser, which will help preserve the wine. In the instructions, again, just reiterating that this is a guide, But if you've not already racked it, like I had in this video, then you will need to rack it off the sediment into a demijohn like this one, or a secondary fermenter. So we're going to add the stabilizer. This is going to help preserve the wine, and it will also stop any further fermentation from happening. And then we have our finings A, which we add first. And we'll leave this for 24 hours before adding the fungal chitosan, and that is the last sachet that we'll add. Now I'm going to give this a nice mix with our sanitised mixing spoon. You see some sediment already at the bottom that's getting brought back up into the wine, but all of this will settle down over the next 5 to 7 days. So we won't show this in the video, but tomorrow I'll be adding that, and then the next time you see this, all of the wine should be clear. We'll have a nice layer of sediment at the bottom, and we'll rack this wine off for its final stage, which is aging. Right, so we are back now with our strawberry wine, and as you can see, nice and clear, and we've got a little layer of sediment that's formed at the bottom. So all that's to do now is to siphon or rack the wine off that layer of sediment into another vessel. There's two reasons for this. One, if you're adding sugar to your wine to sweeten it, which is called back sweetening, it's best to add it into the new vessel because you don't want to stir up all that sediment. And two, you will be able to then age the wine in this vessel. If you prefer, you could add the sugar into the vessel and then transfer straight into your bottles, and then age the wine in the bottles. And I'll siphon this from the top and slowly bring the siphon down so that there's no chance of getting any of the sediment at the bottom. I added 100 grams of sugar to the demijohn, so that makes it a sweet wine. You need to really do it by taste, your preferences. But as a guide, 50 grams is barely sweet, 75 grams is medium sweet, 100 grams is sweet, and 150 grams will be very sweet. But just add as much or as little as you like, depending on your preferences. So the sugar has not dissolved, so I'm just going to give that a swirl around until it's all mixed in. All that sugar's dissolved now, so all that's left to do is leave this in a cool, dry place, like I say, for at least 3 months, ideally 6 to 12 months, and then we'll come to bottle and taste our strawberry wine. But as we haven't got any strawberry wine that has been aged, I have got a Black Forest fruit wine. We're going to get one of my colleagues so we can taste it together. And we'll see the results of one of the first wines I made with this kit. Okay, so Kelsey's joined me for this part of the winemaking process, which is the fun part, the tasting. So we're going to be trying a Black Forest fruit wine. So I made this about 6 months ago, so it's been aging for a really good amount of time, and it's ready to drink. So let's have a look. Let's go straight in.
Very vibrant colour.
So we have a smell.
Really smell the blackberries, blueberries.
Yeah, so to be specific, there was cherries, blackberries, raspberries and blueberries in this wine. I actually bought frozen wine just from the supermarket, so there's no prep involved with that, although the fun is taken away from going out and picking your own fruit, so pros and cons. But should we go in for a taste?
Yeah.
Really good.
Black Forest fruits, definitely strong.
I think I've got a bit of tannin as well.
Yeah, it's a good balance. Not too sweet, but there is sweetness to go with the tart. Yeah.
So yeah, really happy with this overall. Hopefully you've enjoyed watching how to make fruit wine with the SG Wines fruit wine making kit, and happy winemaking. Cheers.